Hi, I'm Kerry Lord from TOFT. This video forms part of a series to accompany the Edwards Crochet kits, patterns and books. So this video is going to be a little bit about increasing and decreasing when working the double crochet stitch. So if you're working any of the Edwards patterns, Edwards crochet patterns, you're going to be predominantly using the British double crochet stitch, and this is how you'll do an increase or a decrease in that stitch. So when you're doing an increase, you'll very rarely read the word increase. The patterns won't say do an increase. They'll actually lay it out for you. So what it will say is double crochet 2 into the next stitch. So this is my next stitch here, my next stitch along in my ring, in my circle. I'm going to put my hook in beneath that whole stitch, work a double crochet, so yarn over to this point where I've got 2 loops and then finish off the stitch. And as simple as it sounds, double crochet 2 into the next stitch. What I'm going to do is, rather than moving on to this one here, which would be my next one, I'm going to go back into the same one. So I've put 2 stitches into one hole. So just to recap that, if I was going to do an increase again, so a double crochet 2 into the next stitch, what I would do, my next stitch along here, I go my hook in, yarn over to this point and through, and then back into that same hole to work a second stitch. That's how we're going to be doing an increase or a double crochet 2 into the next stitch. So the last thing, really the opposite, is to do the decrease, the DC 2 tog, or double crochet 2 together. Now there's lots of different ways of doing this, and this is what's going to put your shape into your parts and make it become 3D. So your double crochet 2s together, rather than going through your whole stitch as we have been doing, so rather than going in beneath the entire stitch, both sides of those V's, what we're going to do is take our hook and get half of the next stitch, the front side. Now if you want a video on right side and wrong side, so the outside of your fabric versus the inside of the fabric, there is a video for that specifically. But just to show you quickly here, this is the right side of my fabric. You can see I've got circles and spirals moving around. This is the wrong side of my fabric, it's messier. So we're going to be taking the outside of the right side fabric, and I'll show you in a second how you can spot it using these decreases. So take your hook, half of the next stitch, back down and half of the following stitch. So you've got 2 halves, the front 2 halves of the next 2 stitches on your hook, and then just double crochet through those 2 halves. So yarn over through them to this point where you've got 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and through. That's your double crochet 2 together. The method that I recommend, because it's really neat, it's the complete opposite and reverse of what you're doing when you're increasing, and you don't get a hole or a lump in your fabric, which is obviously very important when you're using stuffing inside this kind of animal. So a little bit about the right side and wrong side is what's great about using this method of decrease is the fact that it will leave behind, if I just work another normal stitch and then another decrease for you, when you use this method of decrease, it will leave some lines on the wrong side of your fabric, which are nice and handy for being able to spot the inside for you. So to just do another decrease here, a double crochet 2 together, DC 2 tog, I'm going to take the front half of this next stitch, so up through the front half, back down and up through the front half of the other side as well. So I've got 2 halves on my hook, yarn over through to this point where you've got 2 loops, and then yarn over and through in one motion, and that's a decrease. So just to show you that side. So this is my right side where I've got the rings and the spirals. This would be the outside of my body of my animal. And then on this side, what I've left behind when I do those decreases is the back loops of that stitch. And so if you're sitting there and you finish crocheting your head or your body and you think, I'm not sure which way, like whether it's inside or outside, generally you'll be able to spot, if you've used that decrease method, you'll spot your decreases by these little lines on the fabric, and that'll be an indicator that that is the inside, and the other side, the side where you can't see you're increasing and decreasing, that is your right side.